Don't you dare say that, a subcontractor. Remember your place, or you want to end the contract. If you don't like it, just do as we say.
Bob, the department manager of a main contractor, had been making derogatory remarks about subcontracting companies repeatedly. I couldn't bear his threatening comments anymore, especially after he had been giving us unreasonable demands. So I quietly told Bob, "Yes, we will break off the contract today."
Hey, can a lower-level employee like you just decide that on your own? You'll regret it.
Bob, oblivious to the seriousness of the situation, laughed it off without realizing. However, what followed would plunge him into hell, thanks to the person sitting next to me. My name is Jeffrey, 41 years old. I work as an engineer at Miltech Corporation, a major company. Miltech specializes in specialty construction for civil engineering and construction projects. Our main job is to undertake maintenance work ordered by the main contractor, a general contractor. We're what you call a subcontractor. Miltech is run by my father Tom, who is CEO. He's someone I respect the most, both as a father and as a businessman. He's the one who has greatly expanded this company, which used to be a typical subcontractor in the construction industry. With over 2,000 employees and annual sales exceeding $18 billion, Miltech has become a major corporation thanks to his charisma and management skills. It's also the result of his dedication to employee education and technical training, in line with his desire for employees to value highly their field work and become a team of professional technicians. Nowadays, there's no one in the HVAC field who can match Miltech's expertise. We've achieved significant results in research and development of facility systems, and in industrial HVAC business. There are some construction works that only our company can handle, such as our unique cleanroom technology. In the industry, there are many young executives who admire Tom's achievements and respect him as a mentor. Tom is currently 69 years old. He seems to be considering the succession to the next generation soon.
You've always loved this job, so I'm not worried. What's left is whether you're ready to step away from the field and take on the role of president.
Tom often says this, showing an attitude of waiting for my determination. In order to become a successor worthy of Tom, I've been working hard in my own way and continuing to accumulate experience. During my student days, I gained work experience as a laborer and office worker at various sites, including other companies, for the sake of learning. I majored in architecture in college and studied management on my own. And after graduating from college, I joined Miltech. I was adamant about not getting a job through connections, so I had my background and insisted on taking a general recruitment exam to get a job offer. Through the knowledge and experience I gained by then, I realized that I have grown to love construction-related work, which had interested me since I was a child. Now, while working as a section manager in the construction management department, where I've been since joining the company, I'm learning about the duties of a manager from Tom. As both an engineer and a manager, there's still much to learn. Miltech had overcome the busy year-end, and the new fiscal year has begun. One day, we received news from one of our prime contractors, Five Great Construction Corporation. It was about a major restructuring and personnel changes in the construction management department, which oversees the site, carried out this spring. The person in charge was decided to continue, but it seems that other members, including the manager, have been replaced. 5 Great Construction, with which Miltech has a long-standing relationship, is well known as a medium-sized comprehensive construction company, also known as a general contractor. We've had a long relationship with the current person in charge, Norman, who is friendly and familiar with our work policies and areas of expertise. Also, since the manager's position rarely involves directly in the field, I didn't particularly worry about its impact even if the first project taking on with the new system was large-scale projects. However, on the day of meeting the newly appointed manager, I realized that my thinking was naive.
I'm Bob, the new manager of the construction management department of 5 Great Construction. From now on, I'll be thoroughly managing subcontractors along with Norman.
From the very first moment, I was surprised by his remarks, clearly looking down on subcontractors. Bob is 45 and gave me the first impression of being arrogant and confident. Unlike the calm and steady predecessor, he seems to be the type to assert dominance over anyone, both inside and outside a company. Norman next to him hurriedly added to Bob's words.
As for understanding the daily site situation, we will continue it as before, so please rest assured.
I see, understood. But what exactly do you mean by thorough management?
In consideration of the unfamiliarity with a new system and the fact that Miltech often participates in large-scale construction, we would like you to join regular report meetings with our Bob.
Norman explained with even more polite wording than usual, seeming apologetic. I couldn't keep up with the situation, but I was about to open my mouth out of awkwardness. However, before I could respond, Bob raised his voice loudly.
You just tell him to come once a month after the request is made. Why are you looking so guilty to subcontractors? You're pathetic. You're tarnishing the reputation of 5 Great Construction. Be more confident.
Well, I'm in a position to make the request, so we've always been grateful to Miltech for their support.
We're the ones who are supporting them. Subcontractors wouldn't be able to get jobs without us giving jobs to them.
His words angered me. But seeing Norman repeatedly looking at me apologetically, I felt sorry for him and couldn't say anything. Bob seemed oblivious to everyone but himself and continued lecturing in front of us.
It's because you act so weak that subcontractors take advantage of you. I told you to make the power dynamics clear, didn't I? That's why my thorough management is necessary.
His words, delivered with a smug look, were full of confidence. Norman shrank back, finally unable to say anything. Seeing the oppressive relationship between the two, I realized that the road ahead would be challenging. It seems it will take time for everyone to get accustomed to this new system, especially to establish a good relationship with Bob. I was hoping to take things slowly and build relationships gradually if possible. But things didn't go as planned. Next month, I received an urgent request from 5 Great Construction. It was a project related to constructing a research facility requiring special equipment. This time, Miltech would be responsible for the general HVAC construction work involved in the large-scale construction. In addition to Miltech, other subcontractors and craftsmen would be involved as secondary recipients to handle other facility construction tasks, making it a multi-party engagement. With tight deadlines and many people involved, management would be even more challenging. Delays and issues were inevitable. Moreover, with Bob involved this time, I was anxious, hoping that no major problems would arise. As discussions progressed regarding the construction, a construction schedule was sent over from 5 Great Construction. Upon seeing it, I was surprised. The estimated time and cost for each process were even lower than our previous discussions. Despite Miltech proposing the fastest possible schedule, the construction deadline had been arbitrarily changed to an extremely early date. This left us with no room to prepare for unforeseen circumstances. It seemed unrealistic that the construction could proceed smoothly according to the schedule. Furthermore, the documents related to cost management sent along with it were appalling. They had cut costs to the extent of ignoring essential expenses such as minimum labor costs, schedules, and costs for safety measures, and expenses due to adverse weather conditions or seasonal effects. Such unreasonable cheapness could potentially be contract violation. I immediately lodged a protest through the responsible person. Regarding the documents you sent, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We can't proceed with this.
Wait, that can't be right.
Norman hurriedly checked the contents of the documents. From the tone of their voice over the phone, I could sense their anxiety, which made me suspicious. If there had been such significant changes, there was no way Norman wouldn't know about them.
I'm sorry. It seems that the latest version of the content was changed without my knowledge. It's my fault.
Changed? Did he change it without informing you who are the person in charge?
I'm terribly sorry. For this project, it's been decided that all documents must go through Bob, so I believe the modifications were made during that time. I apologize for not being aware and causing you trouble.
I was stunned for a moment by the bewildered words of Norman. Making arbitrary changes without consulting anyone was unacceptable, especially for a project that everyone was working together on, even if it was done by the director. Bob, this is troublesome. As I sighed heavily, Norman apologized again.
I'm truly sorry for the inconvenience. I'll send the revised documents again. I'll make sure to double-check to ensure this doesn't happen again in the future.
I accepted Norman's apologies. However, it was a clear indication of how Bob undervalued us, just because Miltech is a subcontractor. Did he really know nothing about the relationship between our two companies or about Miltech's technical capabilities? I couldn't understand it. Just because they're a general contractor, just because they're the prime contractor, doesn't mean they can belittle us. I had a heavy heart at the thought of having to face him every time we had a progress report in the future. Afterwards, each site supervisor reviewed and approved the construction management content once again. I felt relieved to see that the final proposal sent by 5 Great Construction had been properly revised, with the unreasonable aspects removed. Finally, as the construction began, the HVAC construction led by Miltech got off to a smooth start, following the schedule as planned. Since this was a research facility incorporating Miltech's proprietary clean room technology, the on-site technicians were even more enthusiastic. Normally, the design drawings are handled by the prime contractor. However, this time, the design drawings for the HVAC were entrusted to Miltech. That's why, We worked closely with the prime contractor to verify the design and strengthen the quality control process that required checking against the design drawings. With the work progressing smoothly, I was confident that it would undoubtedly become a state-of-the-art research facility. While I was enthusiastic about my daily work, I also felt the burden of having to meet Bob more often. As expected, every time we met for construction management meetings, he would belittle me and Miltech. He never tried to remember my name and always called us subcontractor. In addition to his harassing remarks, he was also untrustworthy in terms of business. He frequently changed his stance, just like when he unilaterally changed the deadline and cost before construction began, so I always had to be careful. I tried to keep the communication through Norman as much as possible or in written form to have a record. I even got permission to record the meetings through to ensure accuracy, and I got into the habit of carrying a recorder with me. Of course, I read every word of the materials sent by 5 Great Construction without skipping any. I remained vigilant on the site and maintained the same level of focus during desk work and meetings. I could feel the tension mounting, and the team, including myself, was rapidly becoming exhausted. It was time to change our approach if we wanted to see this large-scale project through to the end. One day, as I returned from the site, I hurriedly prepared to head to 5 Great Construction. Then, I spoke to the subordinates around me. "Hey, everyone, I've decided to handle the afternoon report to 5 Great Construction alone. So could you all cooperate and continue with the other tasks?"
But you shouldn't go alone. I'll go too.
I shook my head at the offer. Given the considerable stress on other team members, I had already decided to attend the meeting with Bob alone. It's okay. The right person for the right job, especially when things get busy. Make sure everyone leave on time today. With that, I left the department. Even though I put on a brave face in front of my subordinates, meeting alone with someone I knew would find fault with me was daunting. However, as I left the company with a heavy heart, someone followed me from behind. When I turned back after being called Jeffrey, I saw him there.
Heading to 5 Great Construction now.
Yes, but why are you here?
Today, I'll accompany you. I thought I'd see how the next president handles things one last time.
I was surprised by his words and instinctively looked at Tom. There was a faint smile on his face, showing a hint of ease. I knew that when Tom wore this expression, his mind was made up, and it was difficult to change his opinion. One last time, huh?
Yeah, I'll be resigning next fiscal year, so do as you please. Make sure you don't regret your last job.
Tom laughed as he said that, but his eyes were dead serious. He probably noticed that something was different about me and the other employees. Tom had always been observant, noticing even the smallest details. Having a companion, especially Tom, gave me courage. I wasn't alone. I realized once again that I was always working together with Miltech and the engineers who worked there, no matter what the task. When we arrived at 5 Great Construction, we were immediately ushered into a meeting room. When Bob entered the room late, he immediately saw Tom sitting next to me and chuckled.
Hey, are you bringing a new recruit who looks much older? Is the site short-staffed?
He ridiculed Tom, who he met for the first time, being unaware who Tom is. Bob, could you please refrain from making disrespectful remarks to our company's representative? I couldn't help but show my anger to him. However, instead of changing his attitude, Bob showed frustration at being challenged.
Don't you dare give me orders as a subcontractor. I don't know what position you hold, but you have nerve to criticize us when you owe your work to us.
Sitting in the opposite seat, Bob crossed his legs and looked smug. Norman, sitting next to him, turned pale at the tense atmosphere. While I was somewhat used to it, Tom, who witnessed such behavior for the first time, furrowed his brow. We should support each other, shouldn't we? You can't get things done without us, right? Bob looked surprised at my unusual retort, but soon his expression turned into a malicious grin.
Subcontractors should keep their mouths shut. Do you want the contract terminated? If not, you better do as we say.
Seeing Bob getting carried away and pointing at us, my mind was made up. My anger subsided, and I realized I was becoming unusually calm. Yes, the contract will be terminated today.
Hey, can a lower-level guy like you make such decisions on your own? You'll regret it.
Bob, who didn't realize the seriousness of the situation, laughed heartily. Our CEO says I can do as I want. Isn't that right, Tom? I asked, and Tom nodded firmly. In front of me, Bob, who realized who the person next to me was, widened his eyes in surprise.
That's right. We don't need to work with someone who doesn't understand the value of our company's high technical capabilities. I think it's a wise decision.
Encouraged by Tom's words, I stood up. I felt relieved that my first decision as the next president was not wrong. And so, I left the room with Tom. Back at the company, I gathered the department members to inform them of the cancellation of the contract with 5 Great Construction. I have something to inform you all. The subcontract work from 5 Great Construction has been canceled. Just now, there was a decisive difference of opinion in the discussion with them, and we decided to cancel the contract. The department members were puzzled by the sudden decision, but they seemed quite confused by the fact that Tom was present during the report.
Does Tom know about this decision as well?
Yeah, Tom unexpectedly attended today's report, so he knows everything. You can rest assured. I honored the employees who had endured unfairly until now. The members who had to keep reorganizing their plans because of Bob up until now all showed a sigh of relief. Tom, observing this, spoke up.
I think the decision this time was a good one. There's absolutely no need for us to work with someone who shows disrespect and rudeness towards our company and valued employees. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who has worked hard to do a good job in a challenging environment.
With that, Tom praised everyone in the department and me. Then, Tom hinted at reassessing the future relationship with 5 Great Construction.
It seems we need to reconsider our relationship with 5 Great Construction. I'll make sure to inform all relevant parties about this matter.
With those words, it was clear that Tom was quite angry about this incident. With Tom's connections, it would be easy to make 5 Great Construction's work difficult. The industry that supports the site seems vast, but is actually quite small. So far, it has been a good business partner. But when 5 Great Construction has become a company where Bob's way of thinking works, Miltech will not take on any more work from them in the future. Then, we agreed to proceed with the necessary procedures, such as preparing documents regarding the termination of the contract. By informing the subcontractors and craftsmen who had been subcontracted by Miltech, the on-site work for air conditioning installation was completely halted the next day. The workplace gradually returned to its cheerful atmosphere as it was before. 3 days after the construction was halted, a representative from 5 Great Construction called.
Jeffrey, please reconsider terminating the contract.
Unfortunately, but our opinion remains unchanged. As I clearly stated that, Norman begged me.
After hearing about Miltech's contract termination, we've received numerous calls from other companies in the past few days, and contracts are being terminated one after another. At this rate,
according to Norman, it seems that even the companies subcontracted for electrical, sanitary, and fire equipment installations are offering contract terminations one after another. The mentioned companies are all partners that Miltech has met countless times on site and has built a good relationship with. Also, Tom's connections, which have been used for talent development and entrepreneurship support, are also closely related. Many of the businesses involved with the entrepreneurs Tom has taken care of seem to be planning to withdraw from working with 5 Great Construction if Miltech terminates its contract. There's nothing we can do. Besides, you're asking the wrong party to reconsider. Excuse me. The voice desperately trying to stop me on the phone didn't stop, but I hung up anyway. After that, Miltech was busy with the withdrawal work of the ongoing construction and cleaning up afterwards. I visited the site several times, and today was the day for the final check. Since the other sites had already completely withdrawn, all I needed to do was to confirm that there were no remaining tasks and check for safety issues. With this, we could completely cut ties with 5 Great Construction. It felt refreshing to think about it. However, the construction site, left untouched in a half-hearted state, had a somewhat melancholic atmosphere. I always liked the lively atmosphere of the site. While confirming the surroundings with my own eyes for the last time and bidding farewell to the site, I heard footsteps behind me. When I turned around, to my surprise, there stood Bob along with Norman. Bob's face was contorted in anger as he stared at us.
Because of you, the site is completely empty. It was you who instigated other subcontractors to withdraw. This guarantees a delay in the deadline. How do you plan to take responsibility?
Bob's angry voice echoed through the empty site. Other workers from different companies who were still around looked at us with surprised faces from a distance. I furrowed my brows at the unpleasant backlash and tried to ignore it as I began to leave the scene. However, Bob stopped me.
Hey, wait. Are you listening? It's the job of subcontractors like you to shut up and do what the prime contractors say. Obey us.
Wasn't it you who first suggested terminating the contract? Are you now going to beg for help after it's been terminated? Bob's face turned red with my words, and he shouted even louder.
Don't get cocky. You small-time company. Do you think you have the right to do as you please, even though you owe everything to us? I could sue you for unilateral contract termination.
I stared back at Bob with a piercing gaze. When our eyes met, Bob showed a slight expression of fear. You really don't know anything, do you? Did you just call us small-time company?
What? I'm just telling the truth. You guys have nothing better to do than parasitic us main contractors, don't you?
I sighed and quickly searched on my smartphone. Then, I showed Bob a screen displaying an article. Even though we're subcontractors, our company, a major one, had a sales of over $18 billion last fiscal year. Meanwhile, 5 Great Construction, a mid-sized general contractor, had sales of about $15 billion. This kind of information is available to anyone who bothers to look it up.
What? That can't be true.
Bob stared intently at the screen, trembling with upset. If our company is a small business, how about yours? Before labeling us as a lower level just because we're a subcontractor, perhaps you should learn more about your own company if you're going to claim to be in management. Not even properly understanding the companies you do business with. It's truly astounding. As I tried to leave after saying that, Bob, who lost his temper, attempted to grab at me. However, he was desperately restrained by the pale-faced Norman who was standing next to him. Meanwhile, I captured Bob's rampage on my smartphone, shouting abuse while being held down.
Hey, wait, what are you filming?
It's evidence. By the way, I'm also recording the conversation here. You mentioned suing us for unilateral contract termination, but I think it would be better to drop that idea. We have all the evidence we need. After giving this warning, I finally left the site. The following week, when I arrived at the office one morning, I noticed that there was a commotion in the department. As I entered the room, everyone was gathered around a desk, looking at something intently and discussing it seriously. Good morning. What's going on? Is something wrong? I asked my members, who looked flustered and turned to face me.
Jeffrey, take a look at this. It's a video anonymously posted on the internet late last night. This isn't it, Bob?
I watched at the monitor one of my members pointed at. It showed a short video capturing the altercation between Bob and someone else that happened the last time I visited the site. Although I wasn't in the footage, it showed Bob yelling at someone before being restrained by staff and shouting, all while being filmed. The video, though it was poor quality, likely taken from a distance, had spread on social media along with 5 Great Construction's hashtag. The number of reactions was considerable, and it seemed the PR department of 5 Great Construction alone couldn't settle down the situation, considering multiple copies were already circulating. This couldn't have been captured by anyone unrelated. There weren't that many people at the site at that time.
Probably. He must have behaved badly not only at our company, but also elsewhere, earning himself some enemies.
Soon after, it was picked up by online news, and 5 Great Construction stocks plummeted. Termination of contracts with their subcontractors continued, and the reputation of 5 Great Construction plummeted with spreading the video even in already challenging times. Unable to quickly settle down the situation, they were forced to halt operations at several construction sites. Moreover, sparked by the video, disclosures exposing their past treatment of subcontractors and methods of harassment continued thereafter. Thus, 5 Great Construction found itself in a situation where they hold a press conference. Later on, there was contact from 5 Great Construction to Miltech. They expressed a desire for a personal apology regarding Bob's actions. Though it seemed like part of formal meeting to various companies, given the long-standing relationship with Miltech, it wasn't easy to decline outright. Despite initially politely refusing, They insisted on contacting until they get permission. So reluctantly, we agreed. On the day of the meeting, besides the usual faces of Bob and Norman, even executives from 5 Great Construction showed up. It was rare for 5 Great Construction employees to visit Miltech, as we were usually the ones to go there. As I and other staff entered the reception room, they all stood up in unison.
We sincerely apologize for this occasion.
Among them, Bob looked away enough to stand out negatively. He couldn't conceal his dissatisfaction. And when our eyes met, he even glared at us with anger in his eyes.
Bob deeply regrets the inappropriate remarks in the video. Come on, say something.
I retract the inappropriate remarks. I'm terribly sorry.
With his insincere way of apology, he didn't seem like he truly regret. Retract what? That subcontractors are parasites on contractors, or that our company was insulted as a small enterprise, or perhaps the way our president was treated as an old man. Is that it? Except for Bob, others seemed uneasy upon hearing unfamiliar content.
Yes, all of that. I didn't know that the project we commissioned required Miltech's unique clean room technology. We'll improve our attitude in the future, so please consider giving us work again.
His way of speaking, of just reading a script, left me sighing in disappointment. In other words, you mean if it's not our unique technology, and you can ask someone else, you'll behave the same way to our company again, don't you? Our company don't want to work with those who belittle our engineers and our site, ever. Bob, who had been enduring until then, showed a visible vein throbbing on his temple.
Shut up. Acting all high and mighty as a mere section chief. You're so obsessed with our company. Do you think you became a president or something?
As Bob erupted in anger, the 5 Great Construction employees were unsettled. Despite their efforts to calm things down, I responded regardless. Well, actually, it's been decided that I'll take over as president from next fiscal year, so your understanding is correct. Everyone present was surprised and speechless. Among Miltech employees, not many know that I'm the son of Tom.
You are the next president. No, wait, really?
Either way, as long as you are here, we won't work with 5 Great Construction. Remember, we can sue you for serious contract violations or defamation. The final words were directed towards the visibly shrinking executives. Realizing his own job was on the line, Bob desperately clung to me as I stood to leave.
Wait. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please. I beg you, forgive me.
Apologies are worthless if they are just lip service. It would be nice if losing your job was the only consequence for everything you've done. I said, shaking off Bob's arm, and left the reception room. In the hallway, I could hear Bob's crying and screaming all along. Reports of various damages continued to come in against Bob, both from within and outside the company. It seemed he didn't hesitate to resort to quite nefarious deeds, even within the company, all in the pursuit of advancement. There were some employees who tearfully resigned from 5 Great Construction under pressure from Bob. He had reported his subordinates' achievements as his own and had offloaded troublesome tasks onto them under the guise of mentoring Junior. It seemed he had been doing whatever it takes to achieve results on his way to becoming a department head. Following an internal investigation, 5 Great Construction decided to dismiss Bob based on the findings. At the same time, 5 Great Construction were sued for contract violations regarding past projects by several subcontracting companies that had dealings with. As a result, Bob, responsible for significant damages incurred in multiple projects, was demanded a substantial amount of compensation from 5 Great Construction. His misfortune didn't end there, just that he became unemployed and burdened with debt. The major incident and subsequent rumors spreading not only within the industry but also to other sectors made it difficult for him to find another job. Bob was left with nothing but debt, without even severance pay. Rumors of divorce surfaced after his name was exposed online, and it led to estrangement from his family. Bob met a tragic fate both personally and professionally, and no one knew what happened to him afterwards. Afterwards, I worked busily towards the end of the fiscal year. I delegated site work to my subordinates and simultaneously prepared for the next fiscal year. All that was left was to focus on enjoying the remaining days I could work on the site as an engineer. And finally, as the fiscal year changed, I assumed the role of president. Before taking office, there was pressure to succeed Tom, who was respected by all and known as a talented leader. However, supported by the cheers of colleagues and subordinates whom I had worked with until then, I spent fulfilling days,